Dan's startup was at a crossroads just a few years ago. They had to make a major pivot. This is a story of how they went from 0 to 600 customers, landing big logos like Intel and Porsche. We're gonna break it down step by step. Let's go.
I grew up building tech. I built computers to sell to friends. I remember meeting a very famous founder now. He's like, "You did theology and now you're a tech founder?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, how does that work?" And I said, "Well, it makes me very comfortable with risk. I have this belief system that I'm not the one that looks after me."
Dan grew up as a builder. He had that firm foundation, and he actually got the vision to start the company while traveling in India.
And we'd go into a Starbucks somewhere in Delhi, grab coffee, but I was like, we really came in for Wi-Fi and recharging our devices. I had this vision, like, could these wireless chargers be in every coffee shop? So I went to a friend of mine, Charlie, and I said, "Hey Charlie, I've got this idea. Are we gonna do it?" He said, "We should do this." We went straight back to his office, and he called it Chargify there and then.
He decides to start the company and then finds out that his wife is pregnant, and naturally doubt starts to creep in. But he then goes to a pastor and gets some amazing advice.
So he said, "Hey, do you want your kid to grow up knowing that dad was going for it and building something in faith? Or do you want them to know that dad made a decision to play it safe?" And I'm aware that's a privileged position to be in, like I'm fully aware of that. And then he said to me, "Hey, I think this whole journey is a little bit like a bicycle. You put one foot down on faith, the next pedal comes up, and then you've got to make a really wise choice with the options that you now have because you've unlocked it with this faith. Then that wisdom pedal goes down, whole bunch of other sets of decisions you got to make in faith."
Fast forward a bit, and by most measures, Chargify becomes really successful. They've raised over $10 million from VCs like Intel, Hewlett-Packard. He's moved his family to Silicon Valley. They've grown the team significantly, but then COVID happens.
I got a phone call from a customer we just spent 6 months trying to close of 1,000 wireless chargers. They phone up end of March, start of April, something like that, and like, "Hey, like, we don't know if we're going to have a hotel chain. We have to rip up our purchase order." They're like, "Right, so we've already pre-purchased all that stuff, right? It's coming, it's en route, whatever. We've got a problem here."
Unusual growth principle number 1, always do the right thing. Even though their contract made it justified for them to hold their feet to the fire, they leaned in, had courage, took a step of faith.
I was like, I get it. I want to be redemptive in that way too. Like, what would I want someone to do for me in that situation? So
it sounds like what that pastor told you, the advice of like the pedaling, like you step in faith, and then the next thing comes up and you have to make a decision. Took another step in faith, to let it go. And what do you know? This is what happened next.
May 2020, a customer came to us, or a prospect came to us and said, "Hey, you've got these wireless chargers on desks in thousands of offices all over the world. Hey, can we use your wireless chargers and the software that you have for managing floor plans and all these different desks where these wireless chargers are, but we don't actually want the wireless chargers. Can we use it for our hybrid workplace?" And they're like, "We don't know if this hybrid workplace is going to happen yet, but we think we're going to go from 3 buildings to 1 building in Manhattan."
So they get the call. But for me, as a founder, this was not very unique. We had prospects and customers reaching out all the time about different things that we could do that weren't on our roadmap. But the interesting thing to me about this is, of course, the macro environment's changing. The current business is not working like it was. So Dan has a decision to make. And our next learnings come from the way that he made that decision. Check it out.
We had customers that we already had, like Accenture, Okta, other people, HPE. And so we started talking to them about, hey, what would it look like if we went from Chargify, which managed all these wireless chargers and all these desks, but if we actually just built out this software for the workforce. Funnily enough, none of those customers ended up becoming Cadence customers in the end, or haven't done yet. The 600 customers are all net new.
You're saying the validation that you heard here was from customers who actually didn't follow through on what they said?
Didn't follow through on what they said, yeah. Not because they didn't not do hybrid or anything like that. It's just, we weren't or haven't been the right fit for them yet, or vice versa, or we've built the product in a different way. But yeah.
Validate, but don't turn it into a science project. They didn't put arbitrary numbers. They didn't try to manufacture a quantification of the real interest on the calls. They could feel it in their gut. And that came from being in the industry and selling to these people for many years. If you're at a decision point right now, talk to some customers, talk to some prospects, ask them the question, but don't overthink it. Truly trust your gut. You know the industry. You're an expert. I'm assuming you have founder market fit.
When this customer prospect said, it's like, "Hey, can we reuse your software?" As a deep tech founder, that sounds really boring. Like, I don't want to build desk booking software.
Don't miss it because of a prideful thing in your heart. Your path forward might look a little bit different than you originally thought. This is the key part.
And being a deep tech founder with a product that I was selling previously that was quite an uphill struggle to sell, like we were selling a vitamin, not a painkiller, we found out. But I was like, man, the TAM, like there's a lot of workers. Thirdly, background in theology, grew up in the church. I was like, hey, the future of work looks pretty dystopian right now, mid 2020, and thought it must have a different rhythm. It must have a different cadence than what.
He's painting that full picture and it becomes evidently clear, and he follows the piece in his heart. And I guarantee you, if you paint that full picture, you're going to see the right outcome in that decision. And even if this next decision doesn't lead to the outcome you want, it's going to lead you to that next thing.
So often I see people trying to create perfect, like platonic systems that are just going to scale from 0 to 1 million, right? And that's just, in my experience, not how things work. You've actually just got to get to the next junction and then make the next decision, get to the next junction, and then make the next. And your business is going to look very, very different at 1 million in ARR than it is at 10.
The final point I want to take away from the way that Dan made this massive pivot decision is this. He wasn't led with fear. And he had more reason to be afraid than most founders I know.
Just moved, my wife and 3 kids under 5. We just moved to the Valley. My visa at the time was also attached to this company, right, in the US.
So he makes a decision.
Let's go for it.
And here's what happened next.
In August, we had the board meeting and said, end of August, hey, we're going to pivot the business. We started winding down wireless charging, development, and things like that. We doubled the product and engineering team. So by the end of September, that team had grown significantly. And then we had a few months of build. Like, we had to build it out. We had, people wanted to trial it before they could do it.
You were having all these demos around that time.
We were demoing in Figma whilst the product was being built.
Once they made that decision, they're all in. Hiring the product team, shutting down the old business, doing demos, trying to sell the product, and of course, building this new software business. I want to take a time out. If you're anything like me, I thought that I had product market fit when I really hadn't. Listen to how Dan describes the difference between what it's like to have product market fit and what it wasn't in his previous business. Even though that business, he had raised over $10 million from some of the best VCs in the world, and they had sold a tremendous amount of hardware.
The business prior, there was so many reasons to say no to become a customer of us. The atomic number of people that had to say yes was massive, right? It'd be furniture suppliers, union labor to fit it in, IT needed to get it on the network, then you need to get it past procurement, then it needed to be something that people would actually use and not just a nice to have.
Okay, so the first product had a huge barrier to entry, which means that the value prop has to be even bigger.
What we then had when we started launching this is we started selling Figma.
For anyone who doesn't know, Figma is a design tool to help mock up software and a bunch of other things, but they're literally just drawing out what the software looks like. Back to Dan.
Right, we started designing things, mocking things up, knowing where to click on a Figma demo as we were kind of talking people through what we was selling. We started building public a little bit. This is our journey, this is what we're doing.
What is building in public mean? Let's ask GPT. Building in public is a phrase used to describe the practice of openly sharing the process of creating a product and company or project, usually on social media, blog posts, as it happens. Why build in public? Community engagement, trust and transparency, accountability.
We started to make new product launches, or at least, launches about features that we were going to do, and customers were loving it.
What do you mean? Like, what's the difference between the vitamin love that you heard previously with Chargify?
We knew we had a painkiller when we woke up with a HubSpot full of leads. Like, when we had just inbound after inbound after inbound to solve this problem, that's when it felt it. Like, that never happened at Chargify. We were trying to establish channel partnerships. But then we had, companies knocking down the door to fix this problem.
So a HubSpot full of leads, what does that actually mean? He's basically saying during this period, they don't have a product yet. They've created landing pages. They're buying high intent Google ads, and then they're seeing the conversion on those landing pages, and that's how they're getting the demos.
First sale of the product was February 2021.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So literally from August, when they made the decision to go all in on this new software, it wasn't until February that they actually got their first customer. To me, that shows an incredible amount of faith and also their ability to keep the blinders on. They kept the blinders on to do the right thing. What are you feeling?
We're feeling pretty confident, to be honest, man, because remember, our watermark was please take our wireless charging product, right? And we were the anointed winner of a category that was inevitable. Like, that was kind of how we thought about ourselves. Like, we didn't have product market fit with wireless charging, with Chargify. We had a nice to have that didn't have much pull. We were this, as I used to say to investors all the time, we're the anointed winner for a market that's inevitable. But with Cadence, and we hadn't even renamed the business yet, it was still called Chargify. With Cadence, customers was just saying, yeah, we just need that. How do we pay? And so just a very different feeling.
That was a long time out, but I hope you got a real takeaway of what it means to actually hit product market fit from someone who's been doing this for over 10 years. Tell me what you were feeling when you heard that you got the first.
I pulled over. Well, I was on the car somewhere, and one of our sales emailed us, phoned me and said, we got one. We sold one. Yeah, pulled over and celebrate. They did a 3-year deal as well.
3 years?
Yeah, they did a 3-year deal.
3-year deals are rare. Can you imagine that feeling? So cool. So far, Dan's done a great job of just sharing the timeline of the story, but I wanted to peel back the layer as much as we could because I am just obsessed with trying to make it easier for founders to hit product market fit. I want you to hear the difference and say, which category are we in?
How did we go about doing it? I think we picked a problem that we felt we could solve rather than I would really like the world to have this. Chargify was, I think the world should have this, and I hope they will like it and pay for it. And there was a problem. Phones ran out of battery, but it wasn't like a massive, like, I'm going to pay for this a lot more. Where with what we had with Cadence, it was like this is a felt pain daily that my job is on the line if I don't sort for my company.
Go after the hardest pain, understand the cost of that pain to solve, and understand who in the organization is potentially going to get fired if they don't solve it. I then asked him, what would be the biggest piece of advice to your old self when you were trying to make the argument that you did have product market fit in the first iteration?
The timing for this to be a must-have was not there yet. Timing was somewhat outside of our control because there were standards bodies that needed to put wireless charging and agree upon the type of wireless charging. And so Intel, they were going to put wireless power into every laptop that they helped design. Invested in us to be the infrastructure partner, to be the partner that got all the network, all the coffee shops, hotels, etc., all online with this stuff. And so it felt inevitable because the partners that we were signing up were market makers. So that's why I had so much hope, so much conviction. It wasn't just us. This was a whole like standards body and market that was trying to move it.
Finally, I wanted to know, what was your growth strategy once you went all in on the pivot?
Landing page, Google paid around particular key terms, people hammering outbound for a short period of time, finding lists, emailing them out, carpet bombing at the time. This was very unsophisticated, like for us at the time. We were coming from a channel business sales motion that sold an IoT product that people would like to buy, but they don't have to, right? To a B2B SaaS product that people could buy pretty much instantly. So it's like a massive change for us from a motion perspective. So we didn't really have any idea what we were doing and still don't have an idea about a whole host of things. We did a bunch of building in public on LinkedIn too. So I'm fortunate enough to have a few followers from the wireless charging days. I was one of the leaders in that movement with the standards bodies as well. And so people kind of watched the pivot happening live as we were doing it, which was fun.
Cool.
Many people reach out going like, this is cool. I can see how you got here from this. This isn't just an adjacency. Though it is a bit of an adjacency, but it's not just an adjacency. This is a real pivot.
That's it. If you want to get the full transcript, DM me on LinkedIn, Adam O'Donnell. This is the Founder Initiative. Thanks for watching.